Malaysia. She is Dr. Dina Imam Supaat. Dr. Dina Imam Supaat is one of the teaching staff at the Islamic Science University Malaysia. And today she will explain the comparison of licensing law regulation between Malaysia and Indonesia. And you guys, you can ask her a lot of questions, and don't worry, you can speak in English or in Bahasa. Okay, Miss Dina, I give you 30 minutes to explain about the overview leasing law in Malaysia. Please welcome Kak Dina.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore? Ini sudah sore
Kak.
ya?
Yes.
Okay. Terima kasih Dr. Dewi dan ini kan adinda saya kan, Dewi dan Anindita, my two lovely sisters from Universitas Brawijaya. I miss you both a lot and hope that I can see you inshallah in the near future. So welcome to all students who are here today. I appreciate your attendance and we hope that we can have a fruitful sharing and discussion. Yeah? Okay, let me share my material. Okay, we are going to discuss licensing law in Malaysia. For your information, discussion on licensing law in Malaysia is not common. It's not common because we don't have a specific subject or mata kuliah on licensing law. Licensing is included in administrative law, hukum administrasi negara, especially when we talk about administrative discretion and also administrative adjudication. Okay. Okay, so we are going to look at what is licensing and the purpose of licensing, but I am very sure that all of you here are more well-versed than myself in this regards. Yeah? So licensing is a permission. When you get a license, it means you get a permission. But it's not just a permission, but the permission comes from a competent authority. Someone with an authority, in this case, it's the government or the pemerintah. Ya? Ini kan English kan bahasa Dewi?
Boleh mix.
Boleh ya?
Yeah, okay. Half bahasa and mix with in English. Okay. Up to you, Kak Dina. Okay.
Jadinya the permission is granted by the competent authority, and with that permission you are able to conduct or to do something, to do some action, to do some activities, to take up some work, which without that a license or without that permit you will not be able to do it, or the activities will be considered as illegal without authorization. For example, if you want to go fishing, you need to get a license. Especially when you go fishing more than 20 knots, in Malaysian waters. So if you go more than that, you need to get a license. If you don't get a license, it means you are conducting an illegal activities. Or if you go hunting, before you can get into a jungle or certain forest area, you need to get a license. So in Malaysia, if you don't get that license, but you still go and get into the forest, you are considered trespassing the area. So that certificate will give you a permission to do something which without it will be considered as prohibited. Okay, so sometimes people refer to license as permit, but in law, license and permit are different. Yeah? License will give you some a longer period than permit, because in permit, sometimes you usually get it for a short period of time. You get a permit to get into certain country, but you have to go back. Yeah, when you come to Malaysia, you get a permit to get into Malaysia, and then when you go out and you want to come back, you need to get a permit again. Yeah? However, if you get a license to do something, usually that will take uh, some time, and not just one shot. Yeah? For example, you may have a permit to build new house, to build a new house. So that is a permit to maybe to renovate your house, untuk renovasi, you can get a permit. But the builder who built your house has a license. So he has a license for a number of years to practice as builder, and to carry out his business as builder, as contractor. But for a person like us who wants to build a new house or just to renovate our house, we need to get a permit. So permit is more temporary, a shorter period of time. Yeah? And today in our society, permit and license are very important. Yeah, you always have to get a permit, a license. Yeah, and in Malaysia, the federal government and the state government and also the local government, the 3 tiers government, use licensing, to control all kinds of activities, whether it's commercial activities or professional and even environmental activities. And apart from that, apart from government offices, there are also licenses issued by private parties. But this is more of like business-like license. For example, by patent, for copyright. So that is a little bit different than license that we are referring to. Okay, so we can define license as government permission, and this is when you get a license, that is just like a certificate. The license will tell you that, oh, I can do this, I can do this, or I can do that. So our discussion today is only confined to the discussion of government license. Okay, so we can, in Malaysia, we can define licensing law as the laws that govern the granting of permits and license by the government or the authorities, especially relating to the legal and administrative authorities, provisions, decisions, and issuance of permits and also license. So licensing law is not only about giving out the license, but it's also about decision made relating to the license or provisions made on how do you apply for a license. Okay, from administrative point of view, because in Malaysia, when we talk about license, we look at license, discussion of license from this perspective. We have administrative agency, the government agency, who has the power to make laws relating to license. So based on the act, for example, the agency will make laws, and anybody who wants to get that license, they have to get it, they have to apply according to the delegated legislation. For example, if we have the City Hall, the application of license is made by City Hall based on the law or based on the power given under a parent act. For example, the Local Government Act. So based on that act, the City Hall will make the regulation or bylaws or the procedures, and anyone who would like to apply for that license must follow the delegate, the bylaws, the regulations made by the agency. Okay. At the same time, okay, once they get the application, the City Hall will consider whether or not they want to confer the license, whether or not they want to give the license. Okay, so when they consider, they will take into consideration many aspects, especially questions that they ask the applicant to fill up in the forms. Yeah? So if so they are exercising their discretionary power, they are exercising their discretionary power, meaning which they have an option. So when the authority are considering an application, they have an option whether or not they want to grant the license. But whether or not they grant the license will be based on valid reason. They cannot simply deny a license because you are different race than me, because you are a woman, because you are a child. There must be a reason for that. Unless if the license requires you to be certain age, 18 years of age, for example, then only you can bar children from applying, or you can deny children from the license, from getting the license. So in administrative discretion, the agency, the pejabat badan administrasi itu akan mempunyai kuasa sama ada untuk memberi atau tidak membenarkan atau tidak membenarkan keizinan itu, memberi keizinan itu. But that must also based on the principle of natural justice. Kalau in Malaysia, the decision made by the administrative authority must be based on the principle of natural justice, especially if that decision will have an adverse effect to the person. Let's say seseorang itu memohon perizinan, ya, kemudian dia itu tidak diberi, contohnya tidak diberi, tapi sebelum itu, let's say katalah ya, you have certain area of land where you have trees, ya, dan kita nak bersihkan tanah itu, dan you nak potong pokok tu, dan you wanted to sell it as log, untuk jual sebagai sebagai kayu balak, sebagai kayu balak. Okay, so for that matter, you have to apply for a license from the local government, from the local government. Okay. Local government has the discretion whether or not to allow you to do that. But they must follow the principle of natural justice, which means if they decide not to give you, kalau dia bagi itu tak ada masalah. But if they decide not to give you, they must follow the principle of natural justice. They must call you first. They must tell you, okay, we are not going to grant you a license. They must hear from you. They must hear from you. And then we have administrative adjudication. If you are not happy with the decision, let's say you get a license and you're not happy with the condition, because the administrative authority can impose conditions. Dia boleh meletakkan syarat, apa-apa syarat yang difikirkan munasabah. So any conditions which are deemed reasonable, they can impose on the license. So let's say you are not happy with that, so you can appeal. You can appeal the decision. So can you appeal? Okay, in Malaysia you can appeal to the administrative agency itself. Sometimes you apply to an officer and you appeal to the head officer, to the head of department. Or you can also apply to, if they provide tribunal, you can also apply to a tribunal. And then yes, that too. Or if these two levels have been exhausted, jika kita sudah menggunakan ruang-ruang yang ada, but you are still unhappy, you can apply for judicial review in the court. So that is two different. Judicial review and tribunal are two different things, because that is already another avenue. It's no longer an administrative avenue. Okay, so these are some of the activities in Malaysia that requires you to get a license. you want to go fishing, but not all fishing, only sometimes fishing in certain area, in special area. If you want to go hunting, for non-Muslim, they need to get a license before they can get married, especially if you are below the age of 21. Yeah, you have to get a permission from the minister. Yeah? Or before you can drive a motor vehicle, you need a license. Before you open a hospital, the doctors, they need a license. Before you become a lawyer, sebelum menjadi pengacara, perlu mendapatkan keizinan, sebelum membuka kilang dan perusahaan, sebelum membuka kedai, sebelum memberikan services, khidmat-khidmat yang lain, atau menggunakan entertainment machines. Kan sekarang banyak tempat membuka what do you call tempat main video tu apa? Arcade, video arcade. Okay. To operate video arcade, you need to get a license as well. And in Malaysia, you also need to get a license to keep a dog. You actually need a license, but many people don't have license. Okay, so in Malaysia, if it's not necessary that everybody has to get a license. For example, if a person open a liquor store, the liquor store owner need to get a license, but his worker, his staff, his cashier, they don't have to get a license. Of course, there are businesses or there are activities that will require license from everybody, in the business. Okay, and if the government requires you to get a license, your failure to get a license, but then you engage with that activity is equivalent to an offense. So in that regard, the government can take legal action against you. Maknanya dia boleh buat tuduhan di mahkamah for that offense. And if once a license is given, it can be revoked only according to law or only according to the regulation. You cannot simply on the women fancy of the officer. They cannot simply revoke a license. But if you acquire a license through fraud or misrepresentation, mukanya dalam gambar tu muka Kak Dina tapi yang mohonnya Dewi contoh, itu that is fraud, and so that is a basis for a revocation of license. Okay, I think this is a repetition. License are issued by administrative agencies at federal, state, and also at local level. For example, you may want to import a car. If you want to import a car from outside, let's say you want to import a car from Japan, you need to get a license or a permit. Okay, that is an application to the federal state or federal government, and that application is made to the federal government. But if you want to open for pembalakan, that one you have to apply from the state government. But if you want to open a shop, a business, that one you apply from the local agency or the local authority. And the government set up different agencies for different license. We have the Department of Road Traffic Department, RTD. So RTD is where you apply for a license to driving license, and then license the road tax. So before you can use your car must have a road tax. So that is also a form of license. The forestry department in Malaysia, issue license for activities like hunting or camping in gazetted area. So you cannot simply get into a gazetted area. They must be with a license. Kalau tak, that will become an offence. Okay, and we also have the National Solid Waste Management Department that issue licenses for inspectors and businesses working in waste management. Yeah, and sometimes they also have specific board or division. So dalam department tu they set up a new or a separate agencies or specific agency or specific board or division only to look at licensing. Okay, so licensing is good because it helps us to control certain activities. Yeah, you cannot allow everybody to go hunting or your wildlife resources will deplete. Okay, you cannot allow everyone too many people to go fishing because our fish resources is depleting as well. And sometimes the government, the agency impose a strict requirement. For example, before you can apply for a vehicle license, motor vehicle license, you need to be 16 years old. Untuk memohon lesen motor, you need to be 16 years and above. Kalau nak bawa kereta, you kena 18 tahun dan ke atas. So motor and car, mobil is quite different. Okay, if you can, if you have a license for motorbike and then you want to drive a car, so you need to have another license for that. But if you are using a bike, 70cc bike, and then you want to use bigger bike, which is 250cc, for that one, you also have to apply a different license. There is a different license that you need. Okay, and in certain business license, they also impose a stringent requirement. We have real estate negotiator and other profession, which only allow people of 18 years and above to apply. So, which means they have to be an adult before they can be allowed to do what they want. Yeah. So we have the state can impose strict requirement, especially when it involves fiduciary duty. Yeah. Terutama sekali sekiranya peranan pemohon tadi akan menyebabkan dia menjaga duit, akan menyebabkan dia tu dalam hubungan kepercayaan, dalam hubungan kepercayaan bersama pelanggannya. So in that situation, you need a person, you need to be 18 years and above. Okay, and I've mentioned this already. When government have the power to control how many license to give, they are able to control the number of licenses as well. So in that regards, they can also control the side effect of the license. If by giving the license, people will be allowed to do such things. So if you limit the granting of license, you'll be able to control the number of people who are doing it. Yeah. Okay, and of course, the government agency can deny your license, but they cannot deny or they cannot decline a license just because of your race, because of your religion, because of your sex or national origin or ethnic ground. Yeah? So it has to be objective. Why is she allowed or why is she not allowed? Yeah? the principle of non-discrimination is being maintained in the application of license. So if you are not happy with the denial of a license or the requirement of a license, you are given a license, but you have to fulfill something in your capacity or in your responsibility. You may challenge or you may appeal the decision of the government administrative agency through judicial review. Of course, I have mentioned earlier that you can also use administrative adjudication or the tribunal, depending on what issue you have. Yeah. Okay, license can be revoked. Yeah, first of all, if the licensee revoke the license themselves, they get tired with the license, so they do not want to use it anymore, so they can surrender and apply for revocation. Yeah, right. And it can also be revoked by the department because, for example, if you breach the condition or you you breach the condition, and then if you get the license through dishonest manner, you menipu dalam tu, in your application you provide forged or fake certificates, for example. So in that way, if they find out, they can always revoke your license. Okay, this is an example of a licensing body, the Kuala Lumpur City Hall, which is the agency that manage the city of Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. So they have 12. They have 12 acts under them, and this include the undang-undang kecil. Okay, so if you apply for kedai dobi, look at number 10. If you apply for laundry, you have to apply under Undang-Undang Kecil Kedai Dobi 1985. And these are the type of license that you can apply from the from DBKL. You can apply from DBKL this license, premise license, composite license, traders license, advertisement license, entertainment license, liquor license, private parking license. Pelelong ni apa ya? Sudah lupa pula. Tak pula pelelong, tahulah tu.
In English apa?
You bid.
Apa ya? I will find the the meaning on the Google. Melayu and Indonesia. Wait.
Pelelong.
Juru lelang.
Lelang.
Ya.
Oh, like sedikit aja bezanya kan?
Iya.
Okay, juru lelang. Okay. So if you want to become a petition writer, you also need a license. A petition writer is where you write a statutory declaration. Isi orang yang ada statutory declaration, you can ask someone else to write on your behalf. If you cannot write, you ask someone, and that person needs a license. Okay, this is a notice. So in Malaysia, if someone apply to sell liquor in his premise, he will have to apply. He will have to put up this notice, and notice on notification on application to sell liquor. So this one, they have to display in front of their shop, and they also have to display in the newspaper. So it's you need to have money lah to do it. Okay. Okay, I think that's all, Devi.
Ya, Karina, thank you for the explanation. Terima kasih atas pemaparan dan penjelasan about the licensing law. And we move the question to question from di chat box ini ada dari Atar. Atar Sumando. Dia bertanya bagaimana pusat perjudian itu bisa legal di Malaysia, Kak. Seperti apa proses perizinannya? Secara singkat saja, mengapa kemudian perjudian itu bisa diperbolehkan di Malaysia?
Perjudian itu diperbolehkan di Malaysia menurut local government. Itu adalah satu jenis trade, satu jenis business. Jadi mereka itu perlu memohon kepada local government di mana kawasan perjudian itu dicadangkan. Jadi kalau dia tu membuat di Selangor, dia perlu mohon di Selangor. Kalau dia itu buat di Pahang atau Kelantan, dia perlu memohon di negeri-negeri itulah. Cumanya requirementnya itu tinggi, tapi di Selangor itu yang dinamakan pusat judi dibenarkan itu tidak ada. Ya, tidak ada di Selangor. Pusat judi yang ada di Genting Highland, itulah dia yang dibenarkan. Tapi di Selangor itu tidak ada. Yang ada kalau yang satu bentuk, satu macam judi juga adalah nombor ekor. 4 digit. Iaitu ada di mana-mana. Itu banyak sekali ada di mana-mana. Tapi itu kerana ada pengaruh ada permintaan kan yang bukan Islam. Jadi kita kerajaan membenarkan sajalah di samping untuk setengah tepat itu sepatutnya tak perlu ada pun. Tapi kerana itulah mereka mungkin menseimbangkan keperluan Muslim dengan non-Muslim, makanya dibenarkan.
Oke, jadi depend on local government ya, Kak. Jadi pengajuan itu melalui pemerintah daerah, local
betul.
Government. As long
Dan
as
biasa pemerintah daerah itu dia kan mengguna pakai keputusan negeri. Jadi kalau negeri berpendirian bahawa kita tidak akan mengeluarkan lesen judi, jadi dia tak akan bolehlah sampai bila-bila pun untuk memohon lesen judi itu.
Oke, jadi mungkin Atar karena memang di Malaysia itu federal gitu ya, ada kerajaan-kerajaan, jadi ada daerah-daerah yang memang memperbolehkan untuk pembukaan izin dan itu diserahkan kepada pemerintah kerajaan atau local government di daerah itu. Kalau di Indonesia kan karena kita bukan negara federasi, kita masih tetap dikontrol sama pemerintah pusat. Jadi ada beberapa izin kalau yang di Indonesia itu memang ada izin yang diurus oleh pemerintah daerah, ada juga izin yang langsung ke pemerintah pusat. Tetapi pada prinsipnya memang kalau di Indonesia itu dilarang, forbidden gitu Kak. Jadi memang tidak boleh dan pemerintah daerah juga tidak diberi kewenangan untuk memperbolehkan izin hal-hal yang memang tidak diperbolehkan begitu.
Okey. Kalau samalah di Malaysia pun ada there are license that you apply direct from the federal government. And there are also license that you apply from the local government or the state government. Jadi di 3 peringkat kerajaan itu ada kuasa-kuasanya tersendiri untuk memberikan keizinan. Okey, jika tidak di mana? Okey, apakah negara Malaysia memberikan perizinan untuk masyarakatnya melangsungkan pernikahan walaupun berbeza agama? Okey, ini ada 2 sudut pandang. Ya, 2 sudut pandang. Kalau dari sudut undang-undang keluarga Islam, itu tidak dibolehkan. Perkahwinan itu dianggap perkahwinan yang invalid. yang tidak sah. Dan oleh kerana dia tidak sah, maka dia tidak akan didaftarkan di bawah perkahwinan orang Islam. Ya, jadinya dia mungkin akan mohon untuk mendaftarkan perkahwinan itu di bawah non-Muslim. Di bawah non-Muslim, di bawah Akta Perkahwinan 1976. Ya. Tetapi di situ pun dilarang. Dia tidak boleh menerima. Dia tidak boleh menerima. Jadi nanti dia akan berdepan dengan masalah mendaftarkan perkahwinannya. Sebab dua-duanya pun tidak diiktiraf. Dia tidak boleh didaftarkan dengan yang agama Islam, dan tidak boleh daftar juga dengan yang bukan beragama Islam itu kerana memang tidak dibenarkanlah untuk perkahwinan berlainan agama itu.
Oke, Nanda ya, Nanda Firmansyah. Apakah Nanda berpikir untuk melakukan perkawinan beda agama di Malaysia? Pertanyaannya
Kalau dilakukan di luar negara pun dia masih lagi tidak boleh mendaftarkan bila dia balik ke Malaysia.
Oke, jadi dianggap di Malaysia memang tidak diizinkan ya, tidak legal lah. Kalaupun dia kemudian mendaftarkan di Indonesia, di Malaysia. Kemudian ya, ini masih di pertanyaannya Nanda. Bentar. Nanda, mohon maaf. Oh, tadi Serena ya, maaf ya Serena. Tadi yang Serena pertanyaan pertama, yang kedua. Oh, sudah. Yang pertanyaannya Nanda, apakah proses pembuatan izin berusaha di Malaysia dan Indonesia berbeda? Kalau berbeda, bagaimana proses pembuatan izin berusaha di Malaysia? Mungkin Kak Dina, you can explain perizinan berusaha.
Perizinan berusaha itu apa ya, Dewi?
Bentar. Nanda, mungkin kamu bisa memberikan contohnya kira-kira perizinan berusaha yang apa ini? Tadi sepertinya tadi kan Bu Dina sudah menjelaskan ya prosedur perizinan, kemudian require-nya ada apa saja. Begitu. Ini perizinan berusaha yang mana nih, Nanda? Contohnya izin membuat kafe yang menyediakan menu beralkohol. Is it okay di Malaysia?
Untuk siapa-siapa pun, for anyone who wants to apply to sell alcohol, they have to apply to the local government. Okay, they apply to local government, and there are certain conditions that they have to fulfill. Ya, contoh, dia perlu menguar-uarkan permohonannya di dalam surat khabar, dan juga it has to be displayed in front of the shop. Kalau ada satu pun bantahan, kalau cukuplah ada satu bantahan pun, dia memang tak boleh buka kedai. Dia tidak boleh menjual alkohol di situ. Jadi itu tertakluk kepada local government. Jadi kalau local government setelah dia membuat perisytiharan di dalam koran, dan juga setelah dibuat perisytiharan dan ada pula yang tampil untuk membantah, jadi dia tidak boleh buka lagi. Dia memang tak boleh jual lah.
Oke, jadi memang depend on local government ya, Bu Dina ya. Selama
Dan
local
kalau
government
diluluskan, kemudian ada orang di local government itu yang tidak puas hati dengan keputusan yang membolehkan dia menjual minuman keras itu pun, dia boleh mengambil tindakan di mahkamah. Ya, dia boleh menghalang melalui mahkamah.
Oke, jadi sama saja. Oh ya, sama saja sih seperti yang ada di Indonesia. Tapi kalau di Indonesia memang depend on local government. Jadi melalui peraturan daerah. Selama peraturan daerahnya memperbolehkan, maka boleh saja. Nah, oke. The next question from Kresna. Kresna mohon izin bertanya, setahu saya di Malaysia banyak sekali etnis berbeda yang tidak bisa berbahasa Melayu dan bertempat tinggal di Malaysia. Apakah izin di Malaysia harus memiliki izin khusus atau memang diperbolehkan untuk etnis-etnis yang berbagai macam itu? Kanina.
Untuk yang memang tinggal di Malaysia, itu tidak ada requirement. There's no requirement. Meskipun kita itu punya sekolah public kan, sekolah umum, mereka itu sudah belajar pun bahasa Melayu. Tapi mungkin mereka tidak sebab kadang-kadang dia belajar tapi dia tidak menggunakan di rumah dan sebagainya. Jadi dia tetaplah tidak mendapat kemahiran itu. Jadi kalau untuk warga negara, memang dia belajar walaupun dia pergi ke sekolah Cina, sekolah Tamil dan sebagainya, memang ada subjek bahasa Melayu. Tapi mungkin kalau dia tidak dipakai, maka dia tidak bolehlah bertutur dalam bahasa Melayu. Tapi untuk imigran, untuk yang datang ke Malaysia dan mahu tinggal di Malaysia, dia ada syarat yang dia perlu boleh berbahasa Melayu sedikit untuk dalam permohonan permit kerja itu ada. Ya. Tapi kalau sekiranya seorang itu berkahwin, seorang wanita berkahwin dengan seorang lelaki Malaysia dan dia mahu memohon sebagai warga negara, yang itu antara syaratnya adalah boleh berbahasa Melayu. Tapi yang lain untuk etnis itu ya susah nak dikatakannya sebab dalam persekolahan itu sudah ada tapi mungkin dia tak gunakan dan maka dia tidak tahulah bahasa Melayu. Dan ada juga keadaan di mana mereka ni memang tak pergi sekolah. Tak pergi sekolah. Jadi masih kalau ikutkan ratusan pelajar yang pergi ke sekolah, masih ada dalam 10%, masih dalam 10% kanak-kanak yang masih tak pergi ke sekolah. Jadi kanak-kanak inilah mungkin nanti dia akan membesar, dia tak fahamlah bahasa Melayu, jadi dia tak nak belajar pun. Okey, saya harap saya sudah menjawab soalan Kresna.
Okay, any question? Yang lain mungkin ada yang ingin ditanyakan atau ingin didiskusikan terkait dengan hukum perizinan. Mungkin kalau di Malaysia, Bu Dina sudah menjelaskan secara umum ya bagaimana pengaturan perizinan. Kemudian, tapi secara teori, secara prinsip memang sama apa yang dimaksud perizinan yang ada di Indonesia dan pengertian perizinan yang di Malaysia. Tetapi secara teknis terdapat beberapa perbedaan. Antara lain tadi ada beberapa pusat izin perizinan yang di Indonesia benar-benar dilarang, tetapi di Malaysia itu diperbolehkan, tetapi itu semua diserahkan kepada pemerintah daerah atau masing-masing kerajaan. Gitu.
Di Indonesia itu memang tidak ada pusat judi.
Yang legal.
Yang legal.
Yang legal nggak ada.
Jadi yang illegalnya memang ada.
Saya nggak tahu, karena saya tidak bermain judi.
Sebab kalau di Malaysia itu yang legal itu cuman yang ada di Genting Highland kan. Tapi yang illegal itu memang ada. Jadi pernah berlaku polisi datang dan menangkap orang-orang inilah. Jadi memang adalah wujud. Cumanya sama ada
secara online juga ada.
Ya, secara online legal dan illegal kan ada kan.
Ketahuan ya.
Itu kita ketahuan apabila ditangkap polisi kan. Jadi itu akan masuk dalam newspaper, jadi tahulah.
Ya, oke. Ada pertanyaan lagi teman-teman terkait dengan hukum perizinan? Ini menarik sekali ya pertanyaannya Atar nih memancing memang. Memancing kemudian pengetahuan saya dan Budina terkait perjudian, entah itu perjudian secara offline atau secara online. Tapi itu mungkin bagus juga Atar diteliti ya untuk perjudian.
Saya pernah review satu penulisan hak untuk berjudi.
Iya, iya betul. Nggak masalah
Ah.
selama kita kalau berfungsi untuk penelitian, saya rasa sah-sah saja ya Kak Dina ya. Asalkan jangan dipraktekkan itu.
Betul.
Ya, oke teman-teman. Saya kira sudah cukup ya, tidak ada lagi yang ditanyakan. Oleh karena itu, kelas ini mungkin bisa kita akhiri. Thank you for the all student and Kak Dina for participating in this class. Saya berharap ini bisa menjadi manfaat untuk kita semua, untuk teman-teman di kelas perizinan, dan untuk Kak Dina. Thank you. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone. It's a pleasure.